All right, you're gonna have to work with me here. I had a crazy day at work. I am a little bit fried, but I also really want to make this video, so I would appreciate some flexibility as we cover a topic that I've been wanting to cover on this channel for quite some time, and rather than spending ages putting it off because I don't know exactly how to say it, I'm going to say it and evolve the idea as we go and potentially in subsequent content as well. These are two E words, equitability and equality, and what I think really, when it comes down to it, this is the sticking point for so many issues in accessibility. Accessibility's perception, the reality day to day for people with disabilities, and also how these two things intersect and how we can solve problems. So I am working with an amazing young person right now who is very driven to solve issues in accessibility, and they come at it from this very grounded perspective. And when I brought up the issue of equity and equality, they were kind of like, what does that mean? And I was trying to think of how to explain this issue in a way that wasn't going to get into the weeds of the sometimes politicized arguments that come around when these words are thrown into conversation. And I thought of this analogy. So, you have not eaten all day, and I have had my 3 square meals. It's after dinner, and we're getting ready to host a bit of a pizza party kind of situation. And so we get the pizza, and that pizza is divided into as many pizza slices as you like a pizza to be divided into. That could be 4, 6, 8, 12, depending on where you get your pizza. Probably could be more than that. Now, having equality is you get 3 slices of pizza, I get 3 slices of pizza, and we go on our way. However, being equitable is I take into account, hey, I remember you told me you haven't eaten all day. Why don't you take 4 pieces of pizza? I might only take 2 or 1 because I know you haven't eaten all day and I want you to be hungry. I want you to have a good time at the party. So I would like you to have as much pizza as it takes for you to be full and happy and enjoy my hospitality here at this pizza party. Now, what I think that does really well is outline the basics of the juxtaposition between these two terms. Equality is the same thing for everybody all the time. It's equal. Everyone gets the same thing. Equitability is meeting somebody where they're at, acknowledging where that at is, and then doing what it takes to move that person forward. And what I've realized in my job working with kids is sometimes being equitable or giving the equitable solution is harder. However, when you do that, when you take that time, when you make the concerted effort to put in the work necessary to develop a solution to a problem, accommodate a disability, you get a situation wherein that person is now on an equal playing field. As a practical example, I just worked with a young lady who has dyslexia, and when I was able to reformat what we were doing in a format that worked for her, she was able to memorize, was able to think more clearly, and was able to more readily reach the same point that her peers were at because we took the time to go back and figure out what the problem, quote unquote, was, and then what to do about it and where she was at. Hey, can you read this? Is this comfortable for you? No? Okay, let's do something about that. Hey, does this picture help you remember the word that you're struggling to read? Yes. Let's do more pictures. And was it more work? Yes. Was it harder? Sometimes. But it was equitable. And if I would have just said, well, you have the same written material as everybody else, it's equal. You have what you need. She might have been able to make it work, but she's not going to be as confident. She's not going to be as able to really elevate her capability because I've just given her the same thing as everybody else. As a blind person, if you take me to a restaurant and you hand me a menu, I can't read it. It's all in print. It's too small. But if you give me a menu in Braille, right, So equal is I have the print menu, but I can't read it, so it's useless. Equitable is I know that you're blind. There's a possibility you might read Braille. So I have this option of a Braille menu for you. And maybe that took some cost for the restaurant to produce. But now you can read the menu and you can order what you want on your own independently because I've given you an equitable option. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but what I want to say is that when we talk about workplace accessibility specifically, what the first thing is often to go, if it's even present at all, is the concept of the human aspect of equality versus equity. And what I mean by that is that in the workplace, no matter what it is, there is a job that I was hired to complete. I applied for that job because I read the job description and went, yeah, sounds like a plan. I can do that, and I want to do that. And so now I'm going to take the action to apply and come in for an interview. And maybe even have my first day if I'm lucky enough to get hired. But now we have a problem. Whatever that problem might be, it might be documents aren't in a format that works for me. So now I have to go to the table and say, hey, you have your schedule that just got printed or put out in a group chat, and it is in a PDF. I can't read it with my screen reader. If you have it available in a text-based format, it'll let me navigate the table. And sometimes it's as simple as someone going, oh, yeah, no problem, I got you. I'm going to send that to you right now. And sometimes it's an issue of, oh, I didn't know that was a problem, so going forward, we'll just always send it out as a text file instead of a PDF. But sometimes the problem is people not really understanding what the problem is, not wanting there to be a problem, and then when I bring it up, not wanting to or being willing to put in the time, energy, or effort necessary to solve said problem. And the point that I come back to is that in order to make things better, I need to call it out. And due to some work experiences I've had in the past, some of which I've detailed on this channel, sometimes I'm hesitant to do that because I don't want to be on the chopping block just because something doesn't work for me, and I voice that as a concern because I don't want to be perceived as starting a problem or not being willing to be a team player, or that I'm somehow incapable of doing my job just because something isn't set up in a way that works for me as a disabled person. But the reality is I am extraordinarily capable. There's a reason I was hired. There's a reason I do what I do every day. And that when I have what I need, when that is provided for, when I speak for it and somebody not only listens to me, but follows up with me on, and continues to keep in mind the needs that I might have, all of a sudden I become exponentially more capable of doing my job. And so often when we talk about disability, I've talked about this on the channel, we do the, hey, is this good enough? Can we get through this activity this day? Can we do it good enough to keep going? Without actually going back and taking, again, that equitable approach of what do you need? What does that actually mean? And do I have the means to help you get it? If I don't, do I know who does? Can I contact them or put you in touch with somebody who does? Do I have representation where I need it to make sure that these things are spoken for? And do I actually listen, actively listen when someone is bringing a concern to the table? Am I listening because I want to hear? Am I listening because I want to understand? Am I listening because I want to make this better for somebody else? Or am I listening because I don't want to deal with it and I'm going to find a way not to? And I think equality gets subbed out for equitability really often because we're like, well, everybody has the same opportunities here. I don't care if you're disabled or not. You have the same opportunity as everybody else. But if you don't give me what I need to be able to do that thing, how am I supposed to do it? I'll give you one more example. If there is a large body of water and you can swim, and you might say, okay, it's 300 yards across this river, and go ahead and swim across. Now, someone who can swim says, absolutely, I got you, swims across, moves along. Someone who struggles to swim might say, well, I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try. And maybe they get halfway across and they get stuck. Now what? Do you have a life ring? Were you prepared for this situation? Are you ready to go save that person, get them across? And then when they're across, what are you going to react to that situation with? Is it going to be compassion? Are you going to say, hey, I noticed you really couldn't get across. Is there something we can do to help you swim better? Can we help you get some swimming lessons so that you feel more confident and you can swim across when you need to? Or are you going to drag someone across, pull them out of the water, leave them there, and walk away down the road and hope that they get their stuff together, get up and keep going, knowing that if you come to another river, they're going to have the same problem, and then you're going to build resentment because you have to keep going back and helping them? Or are you not going to help at all? Are you going to let that person drown and say, well, that's just a casualty? It happens. Not everybody makes it across. And are you going to walk away knowing that you didn't do anything to help that person? And I think equality gets put up as a shield. I think it becomes the first real barrier of, well, everyone had the same chance, just the way the cookie crumbles. And equitability takes work, it takes time, it takes empathy, it takes consideration. These things aren't always easy. I can acknowledge that. Even for myself, being empathetic to people who are different than me as a disabled person isn't always easy. But especially when you work with kids, it's my job. It doesn't matter if it's easy. It doesn't matter if I like it. It doesn't matter if I understand every nuanced piece of everything. It matters how I approach it. What am I going to do? So I might not always have that life ring or a boat, but I might know, hey, I know someone who's a darn good swim teacher. So I feel like you struggled. We got you across. I'm sorry that was really a struggle, but I know Jenny. She's a great teacher. I'm going to get in touch with Jenny, see if she can help you out, right? And so much of what we don't do is truly take the time to think about being more equitable in our spaces. And the first step in that is something I'll cover in another video in more detail, but it's really taking a darn hard look in the mirror. And if you can't look in the mirror, there is somebody who will look into that window for you, whether that's someone with a disability, someone of a different race, someone who just doesn't live the same experience that you do, that can give voice to things that you have never thought of because you don't need to. And that's not good or bad, but you have to be willing to be that honest with yourself, with your coworkers, with your supervisors, with your underlings. I don't know what other word to say there, but it's really, really important to come to the table wanting to work towards being better, even if, and especially if, that is hard and may entail some hard conversations and might be a really, really tough pill to swallow. But if you do, you are now putting yourself in a situation to grow and to let that person grow with you and to bring everybody else from the bottom up. So when we talk about equitability versus equality, there is a real difference in these things. And I hope that this was some help in talking about it, in bringing light to it, in bringing conversation to this space. Thank you for listening and considering. I appreciate all of the recent support on the channel, and I hope this made sense. Rant over, but it's important that we have these conversations, and I appreciate you being here for it. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, queries, theories, ideas, or anything else, please don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section down below. And with all that being said, I will see you soon. Peace.